Maryland men's lacrosse kicked off the 2024 season with an overtime win. Women's lacrosse is just a few weeks away, and Caitlin Clark came to College Park. Say that one 5 times fast. All that and more coming up on this edition of The Left Bench.
Proud of this group and how we competed with the number 3 team in the country.
Considering all the changes we had to make today, I was really proud of them.
Hello everyone and welcome into The Left Bench, brought to you by Terrapin Sports Central. I'm Ricky Podgorski with Keara, Bruno as always, and Keara. Jonas and Nate got us kicked off last week, but I am very excited to get back behind the desk with you last semester for you. Very exciting stuff.
I know, so upsetting, but super exciting still was that Iowa and Maryland game Saturday night. I mean, Xfinity, the lines were wrapped around more than 2 hours before tip-off.
So it's just entire building.
Right, exactly. So it's great for the game of women's basketball. It really just goes to show how much it's grown over the years.
And the atmosphere was exciting, but the game itself was pretty exciting as well. Maryland women's basketball searched for a signature win when it hosted number 3 Iowa and Caitlin Clark Saturday night. In a tight second half, it was the Hawkeyes getting the better of the Terps. Maryland flew off the block with an 11-3 run, sparked by Cheyenne Sellers, who returned to action after missing a game with an injury. But then it's the Caitlin Clark show. Deep threes, tough buckets like this one coming up here through contact puts Iowa up 14 at the break. It looks like the Hawkeyes were on their way to another win, but it's the Terps with one more run. A 23-3 run in the third quarter brought Maryland back in the game, tying this one up heading into the fourth. Some momentum, but Maryland could not find the lead. Clark drops 38 points as the Hawkeyes find their first win at the Xfinity Center in program history, winning 93-85. Here's head coach Brenda Fries and her biggest takeaway.
This game felt like March. I'm just super proud of this group and how we competed with the number 3 team in the country, with the best player in the country. There's no doubt that we're an NCAA tournament team.
And on the men's side, they took yet another big conference blow in East Lansing against Michigan State, where the offense essentially just looked non-existent. Nothing good comes from the first half, so we're taking you right to the second with the Terps down by just 4 points. It takes them a bit to get there, but the Terps finally take their first lead of the game with under 8 to go, thanks to a Jameer Young bucket, makes it 42-41. Shortly after, in comes the Spartans, scoring 12 unanswered points. With the way Maryland's offense looks, they have no chance of coming back, taking this 63-54 loss. The Terps end the night going 17 of 55 from the floor and make only 7 of their 30 three-point attempts. And Young once again carries the load on the road, scoring 31 of the team's points.
Spring sports are here, and the debut for number 6 Maryland men's Lax was worth the wait, grabbing a double overtime win over Richmond. We'll start with Jack Corus, who slices one by the Richmond defense to give Maryland the first goal of the season. Terps go into the second quarter down 5-3, but not even 12 seconds in, as Braden Urksa brings the Terps within 1. Urksa grabs 2 of the 4 Maryland goals in the second. Terps up 7-6 at the break, but let's fast forward to the final seconds of this one. Maryland and Richmond trading blows all day, tied at 11, and 60 minutes would not be enough. We're headed to overtime, no score in the first period, so we go to double OT, and it's Owen Murphy for the win. The Terps grab a dramatic opening day win, 12-11. Here's head coach John Tillman after the dub.
Told our guys, this is going to be a tough game, and obviously that's exactly what happened. And trying to get a win on the road early against a team like this is never easy. But obviously there's so much that we can learn from this.
Maryland men's lacrosse may have picked up its first win of the season against Richmond, but the Terps have a long way to go toward proving themselves as an elite team in college lacrosse.
Alex Gary joins us to look at some key matchups on the Terps' 2024 schedule that will make or break this season. Alex?
Yeah, guys, last season left a very bad taste in every Terps fan's mouth after Maryland lost 6 games, its most since entering the Big Ten Conference. Getting back to that championship pedigree is going to be difficult this year, and it all starts with getting some revenge for last season. Now, Maryland went undefeated in the 2021 and 2022 regular season. That was until the Loyola Greyhounds pulled off a shocker early in 2023. Next Saturday, Maryland can get its redemption. This matchup will be highlighted by goalie play, starting with Loyola keeper Luke Stout. Stout balled out the last time these two teams played, recording 19 total saves. Maryland could just not find the back of the net all game, only notching 7 goals, their lowest during the entire regular season. On the other side of the field, Terps keeper Logan McNaney will get to face the team that knocked him out for the rest of the 2023 season with a torn ACL. McNaney played for most of the game last season, and in those periods, he did not play too well. The Greyhounds had 17 shots on goal, with McNaney only tallying 5 saves, his lowest in his entire tenure at Maryland. And if Maryland wants to be the best, then they're just going to have to beat the best on March 3rd as they head to South Bend to take on last season's champions, Notre Dame. The Irish have experienced returners in net, at midi, and on attack, but the most dangerous duo has to be the Kavanaugh brothers. Pat Kavanaugh tallied 77 points, with his brother Chris not far behind him with 62 last year. With the ball on their sticks, the Kavanaugh brothers are very dangerous, and they proved that in their triple OT thriller at CQ last spring. Chris tallied 3 goals, with Pat tallying the game winner. But Notre Dame's strength is that they are such a well-rounded team. Their defense, spearheaded by All-American Liam Entzman, is equally as dangerous. Entzman tallied 14 saves in their matchup last year. Maryland will need to not only break through this defense like they did last season, but take advantage of open looks on Entzman. And if there is one man who gives Terp fans nightmares, his name is Michael Boehm, that man right there. Now, will he be giving Maryland more to scream about, or can Maryland finally stop him when they travel to Ann Arbor on March 23rd? Now, the Michigan Wolverines had the Terps number last year, defeating them on the road in College Park by 5, and then shellacking them again in the Big Ten tournament by 9. The Wolverines tallied 30 goals in 2 matchups with Maryland. That's some offensive firepower. And that brings me back to that bad man, Michael Boehm. The Terps just did not have an answer for him, who got to the net with ease. 4 goals in College Park, and then 5 in the Big Ten tourney. Finding an answer for Boehm is a necessity for Maryland to defeat the Wolverines, which means that Ajax Zapatello is going to need to step up to the task and limit his shots. Lost against all 3 of these teams last season had one thing in common: lots of shots, but not a lot of goals to show for it. The keys to revenge against these 3 teams will be maximizing their opportunities and finding ways to consistently put the ball in the back of the net. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Alex. It's not just putting the ball in the net, it's protecting the ball. And I think Logan McNaney is going to be a huge, huge piece this season. Obviously, he was hurt last year. But before that, in seasons prior, he's been a dominant keeper. I think he's going to be a big reason why this team will have success or not.
Yeah, definitely. But also, what we have to think about, too, is last year, this team looked pretty new at the time. A lot of new people on the roster, but now they have that whole year under their belt. They have an off season. So it'll be interesting to see how they are now maybe more gelled together and everything.
And a full year under Coach Tillman, for sure.
Right. Maryland women's lacrosse starts its season on February 9th against St. Joseph's. And like the men's team, the women's team did not advance as far as the year before, making a quick exit from the NCAA tournament in the 2nd round after losing to James Madison.
Alexa Wooten joins us to break down what's to come for the 2024 women's lacrosse team. Alexa?
When you think of Maryland women's lacrosse, you think Final Fours, national championships, and like Keara mentioned, that wasn't the case last year. But this year, Maryland has all the elements needed to be a Final Four team and get back to where they were in 2022. Kathy Reese has said that this year's team has more overall experience and depth than she's had in a while. A lot of that comes with having 9 fifth-year seniors, 8 Maryland returners, and a transfer from Rutgers. And I want to focus on that Rutgers transfer, Megan Ball. Ball is currently ranked as the number 9 player in the country by Inside Lacrosse this season. She was the 2023 Big Ten Defender of the Year and is the all-time leader in caused turnovers and draw controls for Rutgers. Ball mirrors Maryland 2-time national champion Lizzie Colson in her ability to check the ball. Announcers love to call Colson the thief from College Park because she could just steal the ball right out of her opponent's sticks. And Megan Ball has that same skill. Emily Sterling shared with the media that during scouting reports for Rutgers, Ball was constantly a focus point, and the coaches told attackers that you can't do this or that because she'll take it. Since we're talking Maryland's defense, let's break down the rest of the unit. And don't worry, because we're going to break down the attack and midfield too. The 2023 Big Ten Goaltender of the Year, Emily Sterling, is back in the cage for the Terps. Match that with redshirt sophomore Kennedy Majors and fifth-year returners Brianna Lamoureux and Aiden Peduzzi. You have a lockdown defensive wall. Jumping to the midfield, Inside Lacrosse named their top midfield units, and Maryland found itself at number 3. The Shaylin Ahern, Shannon Smith, and Corey Edmondson trifecta is back for year 2. Finally, for the attack, the Terps found themselves on the Inside Lacrosse top attack units 5 to watch list. The chemistry built last season between Libby May, Chrissy Thomas, and Eloise Clevenger will be key to its success this season. The Terps have all the components they need to get back to the Final Four, but what about their opponents? A couple games to look out for. February 17th, number 5 Syracuse, the number 5 attack unit by Inside Lacrosse, and coming off a Final Four run. Now we're going to jump ahead with that to March 2nd, number 4 Denver, the number 1 defensive unit by Inside Lacrosse, also coming off that Final Four run. Both of these are going to be away games, both of them definitely going to be a challenge. We'll rewind to February 24th, number 10 Florida Gators come to College Park looking for revenge after the Terps beat them at the buzzer last year. And then March 10th, the redemption game against number 6 James Madison, the team that sent Maryland packing last season. Finally, April 6th, the defending national and Big Ten champions. Alex said it, to be the best, you have to beat them. The number 2 midfield unit, number 1 attack unit, and the best player in women's college lacrosse, Izzy Skane, all at Northwestern. Guys, Kathy Reese is very confident in her team this year, and she is excited to see what they do. But it looks like a gauntlet of a schedule. And as we just broke down, although the schedule may be tough, Maryland has all the pieces to be amongst the best. Back to you guys.
Yeah, thanks, Alexa. And I mean, this team has some of the most depth we've seen in a long time, and 9 fifth-year players. I mean, that just shows they're going to have a lot of experience in this team this year.
And like I mentioned with the pedigree with the men's team with Coach Tillman, Kathy Reese can do just as much as Tillman. So I think if anybody's going to put together all the pieces with the depth that you just mentioned, it's going to be her.
Exactly. Now stay right here, because when we come back, we'll recap a tough loss for Maryland gymnastics and another top 10 matchup loss for Maryland wrestling.
We'll also take a look at how some former Terps did in their respective senior bowl games this weekend and preview Maryland softball season. Don't go anywhere.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
You know, it took 20 years, and I got my 3rd child, who was 17 at the time.
It's so cool to watch the adult that you've become, and you really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
Welcome back to the Left Bench, brought to you by Terrapin Sports Central. I'm Ricky Podgorski. That's Keara, Bruno, and Keara. It was not the most successful weekend at the Xfinity Center.
No, it wasn't. I mean, first you had that tough loss for Maryland women's basketball against Iowa, and then right after that, another L, this time Gym Terps.
It's the Gym Terps. Number 25, Maryland Gymnastics took on number 12, Ohio State at Xfinity, and this one finished with a very close score attached to it. Let's start on the vault with the Terps earning a score of 49-1, the highest this season. It's Big Ten co-freshman of the week, Natalie Martin, leading Maryland with a score of 9.875. Moving to the bars with Victoria Gatzendorfer and Alexa Rothenbucher earning Maryland's its 2nd best bar score of the season. Onto the 3rd rotation, and the Terps start to struggle a little bit on the beam when Emma Silverman and Olivia Weir fall off in their sequences. But Martin and Gatzendorfer help with strong performances. The Terps end on multiple strong floor efforts, but it's still not enough to get past Ohio State. Maryland drops their second meet in a row, 196-625 to 195-8.
I'm just proud of this team. We had some adversity in warm-ups and had to change some lineups last minute, but they stayed strong mentally, and to finish like that on floor and still pull out a pretty good score considering all the changes we had to make today. I was really proud of them.
Things still are not looking up for Maryland wrestling. They traveled to number 10 Minnesota on Friday and lost their fourth conference matchup in a row. The Terps are without their ranked upperweights Jackson Smith and Seth Nevels in this one, but Braxton Brown and Ethan Miller are there to take care of business. Brown and Miller both pick up ranked wins against guys that are exactly one spot in front of them. After Miller's win, it's Minnesota the rest of the way to pick up the 30-6 win. The Terps have their final home Big Ten match of the season on February 11th against number 25 Michigan State.
College football season is over, but not for some seniors. 4 seniors played in the East-West Shrine Bowl last Thursday and 2 more in the Reese's Senior Bowl on Saturday. Down in Texas for the East-West Shrine Bowl, Gottlieb Ayaje, Jaquan Shepard, Tarheeb Still, and Talia Tagovailoa represented the Terps. And it was the all-time Big Ten passing yard leader who stood out. Tagovailoa threw for 142 yards, rushed for a TD, and converted a 2-point conversion in 1 quarter of play. A pretty darn good showing ahead of the NFL draft. Meanwhile, in Alabama, Bo Braid and Delmar Glaze represented UMD in the Reese's Senior Bowl. Both players looking to improve that NFL draft stock. And one team that Maryland fans should definitely invest in this season is Maryland softball. New coach, new goals, and ambitions. Lots to be excited about.
Benji Kaufman is in Studio B to break down more about the team. Benji?
Yeah, guys, Maryland softball is currently in an era of rejuvenation. One of the biggest reasons why, they've got someone new leading the program, and that's Lauren Karn. Karn was named the new head coach back in August after Mark Montgomery resigned due to personal reasons 2 months earlier. In 4 seasons, Montgomery took the Terps to new heights with 98 wins and 78 losses during his tenure. In 2023, Maryland finished the season with a 38-19 record, its most wins since 2011. The Terps also made their first postseason appearance in over a decade at the NISC tournament, and they finished as semifinalists. But now Montgomery is gone, so let's meet Karn, the woman taking his place. Karn is coming from Oakland University in Michigan, where she was the back-to-back Horizon League Coach of the Year in 2022 and 2023. Karn also led the Golden Grizzlies to a regular season conference titles during those years. In 2021, Oakland broke school records in a number of categories, including winning percentage, conference wins, batting average, and fewest strikeouts at the plate. Karn closed out her time at Oakland with 121 wins in 6 seasons, the most wins by a single coach in program history. But Karn still has a tall task in front of her, keep the momentum building of the Maryland softball program, but many believe she is capable of rising up to that challenge. Former Michigan State softball coach Jackie Joseph called Karn an expert culture builder following the hire. Louisville head coach Holly April said that Karn understands how to win, and she will recruit, prepare, and compete tenaciously. Now, adjusting to Big Ten play will be one of the many challenges Karn will face at UMD. Here's what she had to say about it at the 2024 Spring Media Day last week.
Yeah, it's going to be challenging. We have some really challenging Big Ten opponents on our schedule. I'm hoping that we come out on top. We're looking to win every series that we play. But through that, we're going to take some knocks, and we just really need to stay focused on our resiliency when we take those and how we bounce back from that.
Now, guys, Mark Montgomery turned Maryland softball into one of the top teams in the Big Ten, and now it's Karn's job to keep the program building and pick up where he left off. Back to you guys.
And like you mentioned earlier, Benji, I feel like that Karn, now that she has the resources in the Big Ten, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, exactly. And like he said too, Mark Montgomery built this up. It's her job now to use those resources and continue to pick up where he left off and keep the momentum going.
And we'll see where she can go with this program.
Yeah.
But stay right here, because when we come back, we'll take a look at what else we can see from Maryland tennis this season.
And as always, we'll crown our Terp of the Week, Pro Terp, and Top 5 plays. Don't go anywhere.
I tell my son, I love you every single day. I love you. Now, my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
I think Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Mason.
Hey, Mason.
Got a new house. It's looking pretty cool so far.
A place that I call home.
I'm teaching Louise how to cook some lasagna.
It only takes a spark to make a fire start.
Thank you.
Study, please.
I think I finally found a place to make my own. A place that I call home. This place that I call home.
Welcome back to the Left Bench, brought to you by Terrapin Sports Central. I'm Keara Bruno, Ricky Podgorski. And Ricky, we've talked about men's lacrosse, women's lacrosse, softball.
How
What
about
else do we got?
one more spring sport? We got tennis, who
Yes.
already has its season underway.
Their season is already off to a hot start with a stacked roster filled with lots of different skills and styles.
Ben Geffner is in Studio B to break down more on this season. Ben?
Yeah, guys, the spring tennis season is here, and there's a lot to be excited about. The Terps are back, and they've certainly got the personnel needed to make a deep run come tournament time. At the helm for Maryland is head coach Katie Doherty. After taking over as coach in 2020, the team initially struggled with a nightmarish 3-16 record in 2021, finishing dead last in the Big Ten standings. But since then, Doherty's turned things around tremendously, changing the culture of Maryland tennis with a pair of record-breaking seasons. The Terps proceeded to set the program record for the most wins in a 2-year stretch, with a combined 35 victories between 2022 and 2023 alone. Here's what Doherty had to say at Spring Media Day about the team's overall potential this season.
We've got a stacked lineup. I mean, this is the best up top, team I've had, and this is also the deepest team by far that I've had at Maryland. Great growth. We have 5 new players, and we spent a lot of the fall season, getting cohesive, gelling, everyone learning our system, and we've been off to the races. The team's done a great job.
With the near split of American and international-born talent, the Terps' recent rosters have been complete from top to bottom, filled with various skill sets and styles of play. The 2024 roster continues that trend, with half of the players being from abroad. Maryland will rely heavily on 2 of these international talents in particular this season. The first of those is returning graduate student Selma Kadar, originally from Romania. Since transferring to Maryland from Miami prior to the 2021-22 season, Kadar has found nothing but success. As a junior, Kadar blitzed the competition. She finished the season with a dominant 24-8 singles record, along with a unanimous All-Big Ten selection. Kadar continued that success into her senior season, notching 15 doubles wins and another 12 strong singles wins to go along with it. Now a graduate student, Kadar's play has leveled up once again. This past October, she qualified for the ITA Fall Nationals in doubles. 6 straight singles victories later, she then won the ITA Singles Atlantic Regional Championship outright, which then automatically qualified her for the ITA Fall Nationals. Kadar is set up for a breakout campaign this spring season, and as one of the primary leaders on this team, she looks to be an essential piece for this Terp squad yet again. While the Terps returned 5 players from last season, a new addition to the team is graduate transfer Maria Budin, who's originally from the UK. Before coming to Maryland, Budin spent 4 dominant seasons at Rice University. Across that span, she totaled 41 singles wins, picked up the K. Pearson Keating Award as the team's MVP, and led Rice to an NCAA doubles championship qualification for the first time since 2016. In the few short months she's been here in College Park, Budin has delivered yet again. This past fall, Budin was paired with Minorca Miranda. The two went undefeated for the Terps at the 2023 ITA Doubles Atlantic Regional Championship. Then, just 2 weeks ago against Georgetown, she finished a perfect 2-0 on the day to help lead Maryland to a 7-0 sweep in its first official match of the 2024 season. Though just a few games in, it's safe to say that both Kadar and Budin will be key contributors to Maryland's overall success throughout the course of this season. Back to you guys.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. And like he said, this is kind of an underrated team. There's not much news around them, but clearly they have a lot of potential to make it big time this season.
And I just think there should be so much noise and buzz around Selma Kadar. What she can do on the court is crazy. And, I mean, keep an eye out for that squad. Now, it was the debut for Maryland men's lax, and I think it's safe to say The hero in this double overtime thriller was Owen Murphy, who we've crowned as our Terp of the Week. Murphy only recorded 1 goal in this game, but boy, was it an important one. Tied up at 11, Murphy slides the game-winning shot right into the cage, lifting Maryland to the season-opening debut. Top 5 plays is right around the corner, and I don't know, I think we might see this one later on. Congrats to Owen on being crowned our Terp of the Week.
And like you guys know, we typically go for a professional athlete when we choose a pro Terp, but this week we couldn't help ourselves but choose a UMD and sort of Merrill College alum, Scott Van Pelt. It feels like SVP is at a Maryland sporting event almost every weekend. This past weekend, he switched it out for Orlando, Florida. He called the 2024 Pro Bowl flag football game this year. Alongside Dan Orlovsky, SVP became the host of Monday Night Countdown on ESPN this season, so not the usual setup, but if you were watching it, it sounded like those two guys were having a very good time. Congrats to SVP on being crowned our Pro Terp this week, and keep making everyone here in College Park proud. All right, Ricky, you know what time it is. It's top 5 plays, so get us going.
Top 5, we'll start off with number 5, and we'll go over women's basketball, and Bree McDaniel through the contact, gets hyped there, a little intimidating.
Yeah,
but
kind of scary.
Up and over the Iowa defender through the contact with the bucket.
And in at number 4, another pretty intimidating person to go up against, Jameer Young, with some layup magic, the float, and then the under. I mean, I can't do that, Ricky. I know you can't do that either.
Jameer Young was floating, but so was Natalie Martin right there with the 9.875 on vault. I mean, I probably couldn't do what Jameer did, but
no,
I could not even come close
either
to what Natalie Martin did just there.
And then in at number 2, we have none other than Talia Tungavailoa with the sideline bomb in the East-West Shrine Bowl. I mean, 9 of 14 for 142 yards. I mean, still repping Maryland, so you love to see it.
College football season isn't even going on, and this guy's still on our top 5 list. But I don't know, debut for men's lacrosse. This is still going on. Owen Murphy, a double OT game-winning goal. Let's zoom in there real quick. Slices it through. Gets it straight through the goalie, flicks that stick straight in the air. Teammates rush in the field. Looks a little bit like when Maryland beat Purdue last year. I don't know, a little field rush, court storm.
Yes.
But congrats to Owen Murphy on winning our number 1 play, Terp of the Week.
Yeah, he's winning it all from us.
Sweeping it.
Well, that will do it for this edition of The Left Bench. We'll be back on Thursday with our first In Focus show of the semester, where we go all in on Maryland wrestling.
Be sure to keep up with all of Terrapin Sports Central's coverage on X, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and online at terrapinsportscentral.com.
And we've got our first episode of Snapshot coming out on Friday. See you next time.